Tom's right here instead of over there. It's green for now. So we're going to see what happens. Of course, we'll get pulled up on Facebook and check it out. This is growth. This is how things go sometimes. And you can't always control what people try to get you to do. And our internet companies are trying to get us to do something that we're not ready to do yet. So that's the issue. And but yeah, it looks like we've got it going. So hey, I am just cut it off. Let me check this error code. Actually, it restarted. We're back in, but it's going to do what it did last time, which is going to janky the audio. I'm going to take a picture of this since it won't let me copy it. So hey, you get to see a little behind baseball right this second as we try to get this done. And don't you love when you hit the alarm clock instead of the camera when you're trying to get something done? All right, let me get this code. All right. Well, we are on, Tom, and I'm going to research this code real quick to see. But just for everybody's watching, just so you know, we actually have tried something totally different in how to connect to the internet than we did last week. And in previous videos, we never had any kind of issue. And for some reason, all of a sudden we're having issues. But we're trying. But, so Tom, does it look good over there? That's fine?
I'm assuming this is the bright one.
There could be a bit of a delay on it as well. It should be the only one because it didn't.
Okay.
If it's running, then it should be the only one going.
Yeah.
While we fix this and as we move on here, one of the things Barb suggested we talk about today is in today's environments, EMS, should we have bulletproof vests or not?
That too, and I want to also bring up too, there's a bill being introduced that allows EMTs, medics, and firefighters to carry a weapon.
So I think that's a horrible idea.
I do too. I'm not. I have mixed feelings on it. I have a lot of mixed feelings on it because I feel like we have a lot of folks. I've been there. And I just feel like that our role in our job is to do something totally different. And I was speaking to somebody the other day and I just hear like all these stories and it's real funny because, I deal with a lot of rookies, right? But they'll talk like we've never done that. Even though we've been, they're sitting here talking to a room full of people who have 100+ years experience in the field,
Right.
Combined experience in the field. Most of us in there was nobody in there that's less than 20 years experience. And they're talking to us like, oh, you don't understand. Like, really? You've been doing this for like 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months, 3 or 4 months. And here we are, But however, my thing is you should never be in that situation. You shouldn't be. They were telling stories about, we got called out to a shooting, and when we got there, the scene wasn't secure. Well, you shouldn't have went on scene. Now, if they do...
Leave the scene.
Exactly. If they do allow this bill to go forward, I think that if there should be no protection allowed under the law to anyone for using force if you were not supposed to be there. If it's going to find that you were not supposed to be there because you're a professional, right? You're told from day one, week one of EMT school, what is the phrase? On every scene, safe.
Because you're a professional. Hey, you sound good.
But if the scene is not safe and it's found that the scene was not safe when you got there and you went in just because you're gung-ho and you're carrying a weapon and you thought you could handle yourself, then you should not have any protection under the law. No more protection than anybody else. I'm not saying that you should be over-scrutinized, but you shouldn't have any more protection than anybody else with a concealed weapons permit, Should be the same. Because you shouldn't have went in. And if you wouldn't have went in, then it wouldn't have been an issue.
Here's what I found. I'm going to step back for a second. I've been friends with 2 jailers for a very, very long time. They did a podcast for very many years out in the state of Washington. And they talked about their experiences inside a jail. They talked about their training, verbal judo, the levels of what's it called? It's not levels of violence, but it's something along those lines of what you can
de-escalating.
Yeah, de-escalating thing. They talked about when they got tasers and how much better that was. Why they will never carry weapons in the jail. Because the reality is, the second it gets away from you, you're dead. Mm-hmm. I think that's the same for EMS. I think, one, it's a really bad idea because you missed the point of why we're there. I had a talk with, I drive for Lyft sometimes. I was driving a lovely nurse, dude from Northside Hospital. We got to talk once he found out I was the former medic, and we got to talk about experiences and this and that. And he had worked at Grady in the ER on the trauma team for a while. And his husband was like, nope, you need to get out of there because people were trying to hurt him. I mean, it happens. Gang members will come in and try to finish the job, according to him. I mean, and these are stories we've all heard. Mm-hmm. I like to condition it when I haven't experienced it myself, coordinating with somebody, but I believe it. And we got to talking about it, we were on the same page. Is our job, it's not about right or wrong. It's never about crime or punishment. Our job is life and death. That's it.
To provide patient care.
I honestly really don't care. Okay, as a morally human being, as an ethical human being, I care that you just beat the kid to death. And that somebody tried to beat you to death and failed. I care that that was wrong of you and you got what you deserved. But my job is none of that matters. Right. Skin doesn't matter. Religion doesn't matter. What you did
political views doesn't matter.
What matters is right here and now what your body's telling me.
Exactly.
And that's all that matters.
And you need to treat regardless of what the issue is. I tell students, I don't care if you respond to a residential area and this guy who was a child molester just got caught and just got the crap beat out of him by people because he molested a child. You still got to provide care to that guy. Because you're not the judge, jury, or anything. However, what he did was wrong. Do I agree with it? No. But my job at that time is to provide a level of care that meets the standard of care as established by our profession and transport him to the appropriate facility so that he can stand trial. Because you know what? Sometimes the mob gets it wrong.
This is true.
Sometimes maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was somebody that looked like him. Maybe he didn't do it. Maybe it was someone who just accused him. Because how many times has somebody accused someone of doing something that they didn't really do?
Right.
We don't. At that moment, we don't know, and it's not our job to figure that out. You know, it's our job to provide that care.
True, the first part of this is a true story, and I'm listening to make sure the audio and all that's so good. A couple of years ago, this was on the news here in Georgia. It was in Atlanta somewhere, where a young up-and-coming football player, high school football player, he'd already been drafted by some colleges. Yeah, that's I'm definitely sounding farther away, but I'll just speak louder. But he'd been drafted. He had a career ahead of him, and he got accused of rape. He was 17, 18, right on the cusp of adulthood in Georgia. The girl was between 50. You remember the story I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So he got accused of rape, became this thing. He's starting to lose his scholarships. Comes to find out. Now, the rest of the story was, we're going to change it for our purposes. I'll finish the true story. The true story was, come to find out, her daddy had found out that she was sleeping with him and did what some Southern daddies do and lost his cool and threatened all kind of things. And so she said he raped me. Well, that wasn't the case at all. They were having underage sex, or maybe he was having with a technical minor or whatever. They were within 2 years. I mean, it was whatever. But it was all consensual, and it was bad judgment. But that was the situation. Now, here's where we're going to change it. Let's say she accused him of rape. Daddy goes and beats him within an inch of his life. And we're there, and we get told this guy raped this girl. As a white, I think it's a white family and a black family, whatever. But, it's South. Let's just make it white-black, because that's another tension that plays into these situations. This black boy raped this white girl, and da-da-da. Well, many people would justify their heads like, we're just going back to the truck. We're not going to do anything for him. We're taking him to the hospital. Maybe we'll dump him on the side of the road. But the reality was he didn't. The reality was he made young, dumb decisions as did she. And then when she was put in a pressured situation, she broke. She turned. And she self-preservation, man, that comes in. And that's going to come back to my point of what you said about weapons. Why no firefighter, no EMT should ever have a gun or a knife on scene is you go into what could potentially be a dangerous situation, but they know you're there to help. Gang violence. Something that I've worked gunshots with, actually I think we worked one with James in one of the trailer parks. There was a drive-by and the guy got caught in the leg. Mm-hmm. And of course we waited for scene safety, whatever. But here's the deal. Cops are around, they're looking for shooters, or they're distracted too. There are a number of family members that were there that we assume were family members. They could have been somebody else. We could have been her. But here's the thing. Tensions were as low as they could be with shooting because they knew we were there to help. Now what happens if you're there to help and somebody who's worked up, somebody who is worried about what just happened is sitting there and they see your holster. They see the outline of a gun. They see a knife in your boot.
Because you're focusing on patient care.
And they see it and they freak out going, what's going on? And then all of a sudden now it's escalated to maybe you're getting shot at because they see a gun and they freak out. What happens? Sometimes it happens. Holsters fail. And your gun falls on the floor. And maybe somebody doesn't even know where that's from and they freak out. People freak out.
Or you're at or you're at an accident scene and it comes out and you leave it.
There's that, yeah.
And now somebody else picks it up.
Yeah.
And who knows what they do with it.
And what happens when you put your hand on it?
Yeah.
You've gone from treating the patient to...
And what about security?
What?
What about security of it? How many people in our profession suffer from PTSD?
Yeah.
And that just might be, why not go ahead and do it? I'm having a really bad day. Why not go ahead and do it? I'm like, just, what is going to be what's going to be there to protect everyone in it? And I just don't think everybody having a willy-nilly freedom to carry a weapon is the answer to everything. I am prepared, though, just to go ahead and say that if the bill passes, we're already in developing a curriculum and a training program to help address those needs.
That's the other thing. Police officers are trained to handle weapons professionally. We talk about
as a last resort.
And we know it's not always the last resort. And we know there are people who make bad decisions with weapons, and they're trained. As an EMT, our training does not cover what happens in stressful situations.
So what's going to happen when the first, paramedic or EMT who's a little bit of a hothead is getting upset at their patient, and the patient's not refusing to do what they want? Are they going to put their hand on their...
Right.
I mean, just by putting your hand on the hip, like you see
that
is an aggression. And now even though you may not mean it, because you know what? A lot of times I'll sit here like this with my hand on my hip, but if my pistol's there and my hand's on my pistol, that changes it. So you have to be cognizant of all that, because body language is 70 or 80% of our messages through the body, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Jeremy Payne says there's always pocket carry where no one knows you have it unless you need it. See, I disagree, Jeremy. I disagree. Pocket carry is even worse because it's easier to fall out. It's you go for it. Okay, you absolutely. I'm not even going to try to make up a scenario, but everything in this scenario says you 100% need to protect yourself or your partner or the patient, and you go to grab it and it's stuck in your pocket. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
And most of the time, you got to rack those when you pull them out, because you're not going to have one racked in your pocket. I don't.
You shoot your foot off.
I have two, and most of the time around here at the school. Now the school, it's a totally different situation. A lot of times, I am the security here. There's some days where there's large sums of cash here, and I have. But I'm not providing patient care.
We'll edit that out in post.
Yeah. Well, but I'm not providing patient care.
Right.
But a lot of times I will have my small pistol, and most people don't know I have it. That is correct. And I'm not totally against. Trust me, I am all for my right to bear arms, and I will fight so that I can bear arms.
Sure.
But we don't always get and whenever you're in a certain role, that's not your job. And my concern is I don't want people out there saying, "Sir, I need you to come with me." Sir, I need you to come with me. Because what's that going to do is that's going to escalate the situation.
You're bringing responsibility on yourself you don't need. Here's what I can't help but think over and over and over again as we talk about this, all the different ways you can...
Come on, Brian, I'll hire you.
All the ones you can justify. One is why, and we can get into that in a second. I have a story about that. But the second is, when you're up against a proverbial wall, you use what you have. A gun takes away your ability to think. A knife takes away your ability to think. Now, I am a Georgia boy, born I wasn't born in Georgia, but I was raised in Georgia. I keep a knife on me at almost all times. However, now I carry it in my backpack because it's a tool. While in the truck, I make sure to leave it on my pants. And that sounded weird, but I make sure not to carry it is what I'm trying to say. Because one, it's against all company policies that I work for of no weapons whatsoever. It's against Georgia state law. And I thought, I have a knife, and what am I going to do with it? Because the reality in a knife fight, you're going to get cut even though you're holding a knife.
All right.
Hopefully the other guy gets cut more, but you will get cut with it. That's the reality of it. And I'm not a trained knife fighter, so I'm absolutely going to get hurt. So then I think about the situations I had to defuse, where all I had was my words. My size helped sometimes, but in reality all I had was my words and my brain. And I had to connect with the patient. And each time it was a patient situation. It was not outside of protecting me and the patient and the partner. Once was a partner situation where we were called to a guy, to a male in his late 30s, early 40s, who was acting strange. That was the call. And this is in Morgan County, in the middle of nowhere, and we only have like 3 deputies on at any time, and it was going to be 10 minutes before they got there. And it wasn't necessarily a red flag of wait for deputies, but they were sending one anyway. And we pull into the driveway, and dude's just sitting there in a chair. And unintentionally, we hit him with the bright lights, because we didn't see him there until we turned in. It was getting dusky, dark. It wasn't full dark yet. So, doesn't flinch. When he gets hit full in the face with high beams, doesn't flinch. We turned him off, whatever. And we started talking to him. And my partner was going through an ugly divorce. And he was stressed with 2 jobs. And he was, when you start one thing going wrong in your life, you really focus on the wrong, everything starts going wrong. This is his life at this time. And I was fortunately going through good parts so I could see that he's stressed. And he's the medic, I'm the EMT. And we'd get out. And we always kept a D-cell 4D cell backlight with this because that's at the time one of the best flashlights you could get.
Right.
So he owned one we always kept in the truck. It was dark, so we carried it with us because of the light. We were using it as a light. Well, this guy, I think we determined is more of a behavioral thing than a medical issue because all I really remember is he was getting under my partner's skin and he was saying that he was doing it to piss this guy off and piss my partner off. And we said, okay, fine, we're leaving. And the family members were like, yeah, it's fine. And he said, the cops are coming. You can tell them whatever you want. No medical, whatever. He's basically a jackass. Mm-hmm. And we get in the truck, and I heard noise, but I didn't hear what he said. But he's mouthing off. My partner starts to pull out of the driveway, puts it back in drive, pulls back up, slams it apart, grabs that D-cell out, and I had to practically tackle him. And that was no gun. And there was no life-threatening situation, but bad decisions were being made just like that. And I had a third rider, and it took the 2 of us to talk him down and say, you need to get your ass back in the truck. Mm-hmm. Period. I mean, at that point, it wasn't about professionalism, but it wasn't about the thing. I used a far more 4-letter words on him, but my back was to the patient, which is a position I should never be in. Because that's where the danger should be. Mm-hmm. But I had to keep my partner from making bad decisions. That's a safe call with bad decisions. We've all been in tense calls. So many police officers make bad decisions. And they're human. They're human. I'm not picking on police officers, but they're trained and they're put in bad decision-making spaces all the time.
And they have to do it in a second.
And they have to do it in a second.
They get over-scrutinized sometimes. Sometimes not scrutinized enough. It goes either way. But we're not... What kind of training are we going to get?
Right.
Before we do it. One thing, I got to say here, I think there was a comment about, Jeremy said, there's always pocket carry where no one knows you have it unless you need it to save yourself or the life of another. Well, one, we should not be in a situation where our life needs saving.
Yes.
If
it can happen, but I'm talking about 1% or less of the time. I mean, it's rare.
Yeah, that's like happening at the, going to court, or flying on an airplane now. It's rare that it's going to happen. But you don't go on a scene unless it's safe. Period. Right. We're not gung-ho. We're not SWAT. We're not police.
And you can back out of a scene
if yes, you can leave. Brian even put that down there too. Yeah, Brian, the other Brian Johnson. We got two Brian Johnsons.
We got two Brian Johnsons?
Yeah. So
no, that's not confusing ever at all.
No, we got BK and then Brian Johnson. But we need training. We need it to develop it. We need to get it done. The problem that I have with training, because people say, oh, we'll get this training, is that this is what's going to happen, Charles.
Yeah.
And this is an issue in the state. The other day I posted on a popular site just because I was just experimenting with it to see what it was like because I was thinking about using it. So I started looking into CPR classes. Mm-hmm. So it looks like I'm looking for CPR certification. Do you know how many people offered to do my CPR certification? And all I had to do is meet them somewhere and just pay them.
Like no class, no nothing.
No class, just here, $50, here's your card.
Wow, yeah.
So that's a concern I have, with it.
The reality is
that I have about, people say, well, we'll do training classes. Well, we need to ensure that the training classes is really done. The rules need to be explicit. One, this does not give you authorization to go into a scene that's not safe.
Yeah.
This does not give you authorization to push the limits of scene safety. If you're responding to a suicide attempt, don't go on scene just because you think you can handle it because you're carrying.
Right.
Don't go on to a domestic dispute and think that, I'm going to go on scene because I've got a weapon. I know it's hard to sit in your ambulance knowing that somebody's getting beat up.
I totally disagree.
Or somebody's getting, you roll up to a bar scene and you see a fight break out and people are fighting and somebody's getting beat up and you're in the ambulance. You keep going and you go until the police get there and handle it. It's not our job to handle it. And I know it's hard because you're there to help. I want to help. But at the end of the day, I got to go home to my family.
Boom.
I've got to, and I got to go to work tomorrow to provide for my family. If I'm what's going to happen if I am involved in a medic-involved shooting? What are we going to call it? Public safety shooting or whatever. What if I have to shoot someone?
You get crucified in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
because
everything
we're adjacent to police without the training. Then
and now what's going to happen? Now what's going to happen?
What happens is you lose everything.
Yep.
Everything.
And that's something that I have.
You lose your money, you lose your house, you lose your freedom, so you go to jail. You lose your ability to earn. You lose everything. Those are not in the forefront of your mind when all of a sudden you're the only thing you're thinking, can I justify this? Right. Or am I afraid for my life? And I got to tell you something.
That's the only time it should be used is if you're afraid for your life. Understand the patient, it's scene safe for me and my partner first. If it's not safe for me and my partner, I'm not there.
So you can't quite tell from the video, and I may have talked about it a few times, because I'm going to use this elsewhere too. But I am 6'6". When I was on the ambulance, I was 370 pounds. I've lost some of that, but I carry it. I mean, I'm fat. Don't get me wrong. I was definitely fat then, overweight, but I could outrun most of my partners. I could handle a fight. I was not a slob that you look at and go, oh yeah, that guy's nothing to worry about. No, I was somebody to mess with, somebody to worry about. And my first line of defense was always, let's get out. And we went to a shooting, and again in Morgan County, and we went to a shooting, and we staged. 2 blocks down from where it was, we staged, and this person comes walking up, and the closer they get, I see blood on them. And they're kind of being hanky. I was the passenger, I was a paramedic, and the EMT was there. I said, we locked the doors. I said, put it in reverse. Because he's coming at us, we're straight up. And he walks up and he's like, he was the patient. But he walks up, obviously bleeding, and I'm like, we've got to be safe. And he was pleading. There was something about it but I made him basically strip to show me there's no weapon. Show me your hands. I got him to speak. I wouldn't even roll out my window. I said, show me your hands. Pull your shirt up. Pull your pants your waist belt down so I can see there's no gun. Show me your legs. Once I made him go through that, even though he was bleeding out because he was the one who'd been shot, then I treated him in the back of my truck. And I called dispatch. I had dispatch open the whole time, letting them hear what I was doing. Because you have to be safe. I'm a guy that I know I can go into a situation and handle it for the most part. And the reason I said I'm going to use this elsewhere is it's easy to go, what about the young ladies? And the guys who are 100 pounds soaking wet? What about the people who are muscular? Yeah. And females are always asked, is it dangerous? I don't think it's any more dangerous for a female than a male.
I don't either.
Well, no, I will take that back. If you're aware, if you stay aware as you should be, males, females, anybody, if you stay aware of the situation as much as you should, that's your number one thing. Staying safe is being aware at all times what's going on. It's no more dangerous. I do think people will try to take more advantage of females. I think males are more aggressive than females because they think they can get away with it. But to me, that's a perceived danger because the reality is you're actually more badass.
But there's a lot of, most of the females that I've worked with, I wouldn't mess with.
Exactly. That's why
they don't put up
danger.
with it, and they're good. Most all the females I know that I've worked with are really good street smarts and are really good at what they do when it comes to that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Brian said. He pulled out.
Let's grab Jeremy's question real quick because he's about to have to head out.
Test anxiety.
Yeah. One thing. The first thing I'd say, Jeremy, is get a good night's sleep. Rest. Don't stay up all night cramming because the more you cram that night before, the more anxiety is going to build up. Try to relax, take, deep breath, pray about it, relax, do something you like to do, and get up the next morning rested with a good night's rest and go tackle that exam. Study up to the day before, but I think like 6 o'clock at night before, you need a good, you're not, what you're going to learn from 6 o'clock at night till midnight or whatever isn't going to make the difference. Stop, get a good night's meal, rest, get a nice bath or whatever so that you can relax and de-stress, get a good night's sleep, and tackle that test.
Now, I have zero judgment on alcohol, any of that stuff. I will say don't get drunk the night before because the last thing you want is a hangover. Something to distract you from the test.
Or do any kind of drug. I wouldn't, like sleep anxiety. If you have to take sleep medication, talk to your doctor about taking it. Taking it maybe earlier and going to bed earlier or something so that you get up in the morning rested. I know like if you take NyQuil, I know if I take NyQuil, I wake up next morning, I'm tired when I wake up because I feel like I hadn't slept. So
now I have actually two things that help. One with anxiety. I don't get much anxiety, but there's a reason for that. Is because I don't have a better word for it, but I live in the flow. It's like, it is what it is. EMS, we just said, is about life and death. And that has changed my perspective so much. And that helped with my paramedic test even. But that changed my perspective so much with everything, with people getting upset about things, or even myself getting upset about things, nobody's going to die over this. And so, in the morning, when I find my brain going a little nuts before I go to a test, I go, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that happens is I'll fail, and I can try it again. Or maybe this is the fifth time I failed, and maybe it's not for me. But I'm trying. And I try to face the reality of the moment. The reality of the moment is just a test. You go in, you know what you know, you think you have what you have, and if you fail, the world doesn't stop spinning. You don't lose your house. You don't lose your loved ones. You don't go to, so many things that can happen that are worse. So it's fine. The best thing that happen is you can pass. That's it. It's fairly easy. That helps me. It doesn't help everybody, but that helps me. But the other thing that I've been working with my son on, even last night when he's doing math, he's in 6th grade, and he's been doing fine. He struggles a little bit with his math, and I finally figured out why. Because he's in his head way too much. So I'm going to give you the age-old adage of keep it simple, stupid. You got to kiss it, man. Just keep it simple. Get the facts in front of your eyeballs. See what you're seeing. When we went through PALS just recently, well, he taught it, I went through it. The test was, you've got this, this, and this. And I would immediately, on my scratch paper, put down the thing, after I read the question, put down the information I needed away from everything else. This is the only information I need for this question. And then look at the answers and refer to my thing. My son struggles with math, and it's a 4th grade issue, and he's in 6th grade. He's trying to remember, the difference between plus and minus, or dividing and multiplying, and he's just staring at the screen. And I yelled to startle him. I didn't yell to be angry or to get him in trouble, but I startled and said, "Do something." And once he actually started to do something, simply, physically writing on your scrap paper. His was a dry erase board, but it's the same principle. He started writing some information, his brain kicked into gear. Now, if I throw a word at him in the middle of it, because he's doing math, it's numbers, but I throw a word that he needs to know in the middle of it, it threw him off. I said, that's why you have to write stuff down. Because your brain is sectioned out, and that will help you get through the test, is your brain is sectioned. So once you figured out dopamine clock, we've talked about that a few times. Dopamine clock is a beast sometimes. But you write down your formula, and you did the math, and you leave it in front of you, so then your brain can switch over to the analytical medical side and go, okay, I have a patient who's doing this, this, and this, and you won't remember what the dopamine was. But you look at it. Keep it simple. Stop being in your head, and that'll help you get through these tests. Mm-hmm. That's all I did with. Well, actually, I did do a little bit with PALS. I put little marks on my answer sheet of the answers. I went back and changed, so I know. And I made it clear that this is my answer. So there's a big X through where I'd circled and put arrows on. And 2 out of the 3 questions I missed, I had gone back after I finished my test, went back and reread the question, checked my thoughts or whatever, checked my math, whatever it was, and changed my answer, and got it wrong. Mm-hmm. Only one did I get wrong, just because it was wrong, because I misunderstood the answer or whatever. And it got in my head. That's the difficult part to me. You talk about being difficult, watch people get beat up. No, because it's not me. I'm not going home. My job happens when the fighting stops. The difficult thing for me is on tests or even on a patient overthinking it. Well, did I miss something? Did I get too focused on one thing? And that's where test anxiety comes from. Is, oh my God, what do I not know that I don't know? And you gotta forget that. So when is a good time to call? Well, right now in the middle of the show is a great time to call. So, hi everybody for watching. Share it, heart it up, thumb it up. We would love for that to happen. And we did start, before we got to weapons, and you brought that up, we started talking about bulletproof vests. I'm of 2 mindsets with that. Is there areas, and I think Grady still issues them. I was actually talking to that nurse who had worked at Grady, and he believed that they still issued them. But Grady services a dangerous area. But when was the last time we heard? Now, you may have, because you're tied more into the EMS community. On the news, I haven't heard it in forever. I can't remember the last time I heard of a paramedic being shot. Yeah. But it maybe gives you comfort. I know my wife, if I were to work at Grady for any reason, inside or out, she wants me to have a vest. It's a comfort of mine. Sure, I have 0 problems with them. I've worn one before. They're heavy, they're hot, but it's fine. I'm also of the mindset that what you focus on, you attract. And for me personally, I feel like if I put on a vest without knowing I absolutely need it, I am now attracting the situations that will get me in trouble. Yeah. That's my take. I mean, today, I understand there's a fear out there. And it's somewhat of a justified fear of today's society and what can happen. I know your wife is not your standard middle-aged white lady who can walk down the street. She is of a different culture. She has different reactions to things in America, and I get that. I gotta tell you, I'm more comfortable in, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. I was going to say, I'm more comfortable in the hood than I am in the upper part of town. I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up poor. I grew up in a black community where they didn't like me because I had white privilege because I was white, but I had to live in their community because I didn't have white privilege. I was poor. And the white people looked down on me because I lived in this small town, little whatever. But why I like it more there is I can speak more plainly to people, and they don't look for offense as much as other places. I've been into $1 million homes to work on a patient and said the wrong thing and got massive write-up at work because I accidentally misspoke something differently. You know, it's not about color. It's about, at this point, it's about rich and poor. But people definitely react differently. I think this still goes back to the weapon. My job is to deal with the medicine. Part of that job, part of medicine is bedside manner. And I am a towering beast of a man. And I've had to squeeze into small places with young ladies, old ladies, little old men, people that I intimidate just naturally because even sitting down, I tower over them. But I have to bring that energy of bedside manner. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make you feel better. And I think when you see a vest, it's the sunglasses principle, Tom. Have you ever talked to somebody who wouldn't take their sunglasses off? And something inherently in your mind tells you that's a barrier. They don't want you to see their eyes. They don't want to connect with you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a police situation with that where the cops were called on me. Not professionally. I mean, they were professional. I was just a citizen. And I was sitting there talking to him, and he wouldn't take his glasses off, and I had registered it. So I worked extra hard to connect. And sure enough, I knew I connected when he took his glasses off and put them in his pocket. And we got the truth out and blah, blah, blah. That's, to me, unless you absolutely need it, and if I get a grade, I would need it. I think out here at Covington, I think you're putting up a visible barrier between you and other people that could keep you from doing your job.
I mean, I'm a believer that you shouldn't be in those situations unless your job calls for it. You know, for a while I was on the SWAT team.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I had a vest, but you know what?
But
that was
a situation.
But that was my job, and
right.
I received training, and I took on that responsibility and took that oath to do that. When I was riding on the ambulance, that wasn't my job to do.
Right.
Because when you put yourself in those situations where you are pushing that envelope of safety, you could put yourself in harm's way, but then you're going to put other people in harm's way that have to come get you out of it. It's a whole snowball effect, you know? And I think that we all need to be very careful with it. Now, I will like to say some things that I do like about the bill being introduced.
Okay.
That I do see. That I like the fact that if it is introduced and passed, then, you know, I may not carry a weapon, but you're not going to know now. So now if you're a perpetrator and you know that, people that work in EMS can now carry weapons, you're not going to know that every ambulance coming is weapon free or if they have weapons. So that may be a deterrent.
Okay, I can see
you
that.
know,
sure.
just by not knowing. It's like, you know, I do believe that we should be allowed to, you know, I stand behind the bill about being able to carry weapons in school.
Okay.
You know, I do. I just don't think that the schools are doing enough to protect us. Being an insider from, you know, the college, working at colleges, it's a smokescreen. There's not enough protection there. However, I say that the ability should be allowed. The private property owner still has the right to say no, though.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I think the state should say, yes, it's okay, Georgia Tech, if you want to allow them to. I don't think the state should be coming out saying you're going to allow everybody to carry because that's private property, you know? Like here at our school, even if the law was changed saying, yes, students can carry weapons, right? I'm not going to allow it. This is my private property, and I have a right to say no weapons. That's in the law.
I saw a church that I can't, no matter how hard I try, I cannot wrap my mind around what situation led up to these signs. There's literally 3 band signs with the words underneath them. One's no guns, one's no smoking, the other says no whining. And I'm like, okay, the no whining one is, or no complaining, something like that. And it's funny. Most businesses don't want smoking, right? Because it dirties up the front of your thing. It's the entrance, you know. It smells up where people come in and out. I get that. The guns one, I couldn't. It's like, what happened at your church that you have to say no guns? And here's the thing: laws banning things don't stop the bad guys from doing it.
That's my point. there too. Is it's not going to ban them, and me as a property owner saying no guns isn't going to stop people from bringing guns, but making a law that says, oh, you can, well then, when you drive by, you don't know if we are or if we're not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Well, I find, and then it comes to a reality thing. So, BK, being one, the police officer we both mutually know and worked with and admire. Another friend of mine named Steve Cox, he was a police officer in Tennessee. And he, as most police officers do, they have an off-duty weapon somewhere. But typically, and I never cared. I never said, oh, I've got kids, don't bring that in my house, nothing. I respect the right to carry. I respect, especially as a police officer, it is almost second nature. And for me, it'd be like leaving the house with my phone. You know, if I have to use something all the time, my wallet, I have to check for my wallet to make sure I don't leave it, because what happens if I need to pay for something? What happens if I get pulled over till the taillight's out? You know, I need to have my ID, I need to have my money. So I understand you put your gun on every day when you go to work, and in your jurisdiction, even off duty, you're required to, if you see something, to do something about it. I get that. So I would never say never bring a gun to my house. But I can't tell you if I ever knew if he did or not, because he never defined himself by his weapon. As opposed to people who are very adamant, like outspoken, like in public, as soon as you say guns, my right to carry, those kind of people. I was hosting bingo at a restaurant, a very popular restaurant. And I saw this guy come in flip-flops, Bermuda shorts, and the ugliest Hawaiian shirt you could ever get, who was too overweight to be a cop, on, you know, in this day and age even. And he had an open carry holster on the side. And my immediate brain went, why? Why? What are you going to do in this restaurant to stop somebody? Because here's the safest thing in a crowd full of people. Somebody comes in with a gun, wants to run the register, the safest thing is to give them the money and let him go.
Yeah.
You pull that gun, now everybody's in danger. Secondly, I mean, this happened in my brain in seconds. I broke him down when I saw it. I saw the gun, went why, and saw the outfit. It's like, secondly, that outfit tells me, no matter what you do, I can take you. And I am not a trained fighter. I am not a trained gunman. But I can take you down, just looking the way you carry your body, the way you chose to dress. So why? Why is this now your purse? Why is this now your defining thing on your outfit is your gun? And that's something that does bother me, and that's why I'm against this bill. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. There's a term you don't know. But there's so many things that can go wrong with that. What happened? You know how tight... Have any of these people proposing the bill sat in the back of the ambulance and worked with the patient? How much room do we have? You know how many times you could have just, in a second, unsnapped my holster, taken out my gun while I'm trying to get something across from you?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because not only are we not trained we're not trained in hand-to-hand combat or anything like that. It's just seems like that there's going to be a lot there to address. I haven't read the final bill.
Sure.
You know, if it's passed or whatever, we're going to be looking at this. We're going to work on coming up with some type of training to meet the requirements, hopefully. But I just, pray that it's nobody ever has to use it.
Yeah, and my last thing on this, we can jump to another topic or wrap it up or whatever, is I go to the Tavon Martin situation in Florida. Community Watch, the guy, I can't remember the perpetrator's name, but the Community Watch guy had a license to carry, fully certified, was technically up to a certain point, was legally within his rights to do things. However, he crossed the line, he followed this kid, which is not what you're supposed to do.
Right. And
he ultimately shot him. And at the time, I was doing a whole different show, but I would have done the same thing today with one of my shows that I do. I said, we had a discussion, and the only difference was it'd be a one-way talk. But I said his mom would have wanted him to comply, even though he had no reason to comply. And everybody, what? You're telling me? Like, no, tell me you would look into her eye right now and ask her, between having your son dead and your son ashamed that he complied to somebody he didn't need to, that he should have stood up to, but alive, which would you choose? And I don't know what the end of that story was. I think it kind of got tossed out. I think it wasn't scrutinized and handled as well as it should be, because that guy crossed the line. He had no reason to shoot that kid. He had every reason to look at him. That's what neighborhood watch is. He had every reason maybe to call the cops. And maybe he was being racist. It doesn't matter. What matters is when you left the house, you stepped outside your bounds. How many times do we do that even in EMS? And I admire the police officers like BK. I've personally never seen him do this, where he could separate. BK, when he's an EMT, he's an EMT. And I think he's probably overlooked petty crimes because his job is to take care of the health. When he's a cop, he will make sure he enforces the law. It takes care of that. Even when somebody's hurt, he'll be making sure the scene is safe instead of holding pressure or doing something. I'm sure he would intervene in a life-saving thing, and he would absolutely, as an EMT, intervene in a super ugly legal thing that he needed to as an officer. But for the most part, I know Ronaldo Sanders. Those are two people I know that are both police officers and EMTs, or in the medical field, and they have that ability to separate those two, and that's difficult. So I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah, very difficult.
I never want the choice, because I got to tell you, I've been in the back of the truck with drug dealers, and I was like, dude, I just want you to tell me that you don't have to show me a gun, you don't have to show me a knife. I'm telling you, I don't give a crap about the law. I am not the police. I have reason to believe you might have a weapon. I'm telling you, I'm your friend. I'm here to do what you want. You want to ride to Athens? I'll do that. You want, this is when I was in Morgan County, whatever. But I'm here to help you. You're hurting here. I'm going to do what I can within my legal means. And again, I iterate, I am not the police. That's outside of this truck. And immediately you can feel that this atmosphere change in the truck. And that's my job. And somebody said about you call the police and get SO sent. Exactly. That's why I said you're pulling responsibility on yourself. When you carry a weapon, now you're saying it's my responsibility to protect my patient, myself, and my partner.
But it should,
But no.
It should just be to protect yourself.
Get out.
Get out.
I'll leave a patient. I'm sorry. If it's my scene safe is first, and I can't help you.
Your
if I'm
safety
hurt.
And your partner's safety.
I will take
first.
my partner. We will run. We will go. And that's the bottom line. I don't even want to teach that class. I mean, if they pass it, you definitely need a course on it. But if you have
the reason why I'm wanting to,
like the course is, don't do it. Just don't do it.
And that'll be our theme. The goal of the class is so that you don't use this weapon.
Right.
But, because, I've got a lot of concerns, like, in my thoughts. What about all the guys sitting around the station? Hey, look at my Glock,
I won't name the medic, but there was a medic who had a right to carry who didn't want to leave it in his truck. He wasn't carrying it on the ambulance, but he didn't want to leave it in his personal vehicle. Didn't tell me. It was loaded in the chamber. He put it under the seats of the couch. And so as we were wont to do, we come back from a call, I just plop right down on it, didn't even feel it. He's like, hey, you might want to do that. He wasn't even freaked out about it. He's like, hey, you might. I was like, why? Because there's a loaded gun under it. What are you doing? You put a loaded gun on the seat that everybody sits on. Mechanically speaking, once I calmed down, I realized, mechanically speaking, me sitting on it probably is not going to make it go off. It'd have to be a defaulty weapon because it was a Glock or something. So it wasn't like a revolver or something that some weird happenstance make it go off. I do understand how guns work. That's not cool, man. Put it in your duffel bag in your room. I don't care this in the station. I care that you hid it under the seat of the couch and didn't tell me. Why?
Right.
That's not a guy that's looking after my safety.
Yeah. So, there's going to be a lot of things that's going to have to be worked through with this bill. And figured out. I'm sure that the bill will be broad, and then probably the Office of EMS is going to have to figure it out, and then it'll get disseminated out. Like I said, I'm not against carrying. People carrying. I carry all the time. There's usually not a day goes by where I'm not carrying. However, there's a time and place, and certain people probably shouldn't.
There you go. All right, what classes do we have coming up?
Well, we just started our regular EMT class. It's started, Tuesday? It ends In December, there's still time for late registration if you want to get registered.
How many students do you have right now with you?
I think close to 20.
Wow, that's a good class.
Good class. So, if you want to go ahead and get registered and get in that class, you can still get on late registration until Monday. Just let us know. We'll get you in. The 5-week EMT class in May. You can check the website for the dates. I'm about to post some dates for our 12-week summer class as well. And then that'll be our summer offering.
I gotta tell you, that's perfect. That summer class, you get in and you get EMT basic, right? This is the basic. And it gives you an ability to have a good side job for you going to college. Or go back to college. Or while you figure out what you want to do with your career. You know, what your degree is, whatever. And that's a good thing to do. What about ACLS? I mean, that going on anytime soon?
We are about to post some dates. We're finalizing the calendar, getting everybody on board, getting the instructors squared away. So we'll be finalizing those dates here soon.
What about if I give you $50? Can I get a CPR card?
Well, apparently you can go on the website and figure that out.
But you CPR of Georgia. Right, yeah, ACLS of Georgia, PALS of Georgia, CPR Georgia.
New website's up, ACLS of Georgia, PALS of Georgia, CPR Georgia. Check us out there, and you can see what we have to offer.
Your camera is doing shadow light. I don't know, it's reacting. And the last thing is, of course, you can call. What's the phone number here?
678-561-2368, or just AEMT there at the end.
Yep, and you can email us directly, Tom and I, if you want to have a discussion on the show, if there's something you'd like to hear about. EMSU@gaiemt.org. So there is that. And, of course, if you want more of me, I have charlesmcfall.com. All my different podcasts and shows that I do are listed there.
See, Wesley's asking about instructor classes.
That's a good question.
Wesley, that's a really good question. I'm about to post some of those too. I'm getting a lot of people wanting CPR instructors, so we're about to probably mid to end April have a CPR instructor class.
There you go. I'll jump in on that. I used to be a CPR instructor a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else to say, sir?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, well, tune in next week. Hey, you know what? Wherever you see this video, however you find this video, share it with your friends. Share it with people who are thinking about getting to EMS. Share it with people who have opinions about guns. Because, everybody's got an opinion
especially
about
guns and EMS.
Yeah. Share it with your fire department. Share it everywhere. We're here to help the discussion move forward. And we're here to think about new things. And absolutely, we can answer some medical questions.
And we're open to everything.
And to everything, absolutely. Yeah. So, there you go. Tune in next week, every Thursday around 2:30 p.m. Eastern. We try to be right on point, but sometimes the tech doesn't work with us. But they'll be there on Facebook, right here at Georgia Institute of EMS on Facebook. So check us out.